I'm going to show you how to put together this Treblemaker card, which I think is just so cute. On the inside I did a happy birthday, but it really could be any occasion. And so in your kits you have all of the papers that you need for it. So we have our stamp set here, the ink. So you take all your papers out. And I actually gave you 2 circles just in case. And I also gave you 2 of these little white banners for just in case. You'll need 1 red because you're not stamping on that. And then I already embossed with that Merry Melody embossing folder, a little white strip. And then these 2 are for your inside, my card face, and your black and gray checkered paper. This paper just screamed rock and roll to me. Reminded me of those Van sneakers, also skateboarding rock and roll. I know it came with a different kind of the motorcycle paper, but that is what I thought of it. Okay. When I cut this, and I'll put the measurements underneath the video, I cut it so that you have the full squares. So some of them might be slightly different on the measurements, but I wanted you to have the full square on the paper. I just didn't think it would look good if you had a partial square. So I'm just going to glue this onto, I'm going to actually open that up for a second, my card base. I'm going to center it. Like that. And then I'm going to glue my pattern. You can do either way, but I really actually think there is a right side. Sometimes with the embossed papers, there's really no right side or wrong side, but with this one there really is. And I'm just doing a thin line of glue. It's very strong glue. You don't need tons. And so I'm actually going to center it kind of so I have equal squares, tops and bottoms. Like that. So that part's done. And I'm just going to put the cover on my glue just because it will dry out and then it will clog. So I just find if I just put the cover on it when I'm done, it prevents those cloggings. And another tip with the glue, in case you don't know, if you take the bottom off, you have a glue stick. So you can always use that side as well. Some people don't realize that that is there. All right, so I'm going to take my circles and I'm going to use the keyboard stamp. I'll stick that right on my block, my ink. So the StazOn has like a felt fabric for the ink. The Stampin' Up! Pads, I think they're just called classic Stampin' Up! Pads. Those have a foam. So on the foam ones, I usually just go like a tap, tap, tap. The felt ones, sometimes I press in a little bit more just to make sure I get a good ink. I like my black ink to be really dark. I'm just going to center that on there. And we get a nice crisp image so I can save my extra circle for something else. I'm going to set that aside just to give it a minute to dry. Take that off. And I will put on my Treblemaker stamp onto my block. I like to use, especially with words, I always put them on my diagonal. I feel like I can see it better. That way you can put yours on your block however you'd like. And I'm going to do my best to center that. Okay, and with those cut edges of the block, I really was able to get a good, I could center it better, and I also know I wasn't going to get any extra lines that I didn't want on there. All right, so those 2 are good. So I'm going to my colored pencils, and I'm going to take the black one. This one, I mean, you could certainly make other color keys, but this one is kind of not as many color choices. And I'm just going to color right on those keys. I am just coloring, I like to color in circular motions. I feel like I get better coverage that way. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to keep it within the lines, but we're going to take that blender pen and kind of blend it. And so you'll see you can kind of even it all out. All right, you can see really I didn't do the perfect job, but that's okay. I'm going to take my blender pen, and the blender pen has two tips on it. They're both exactly the same. So you really get two pens in one, and you'll see it's a nice brush tip. And right now it's pretty clean. It's brand new. It will get some staining over time, and that's okay. It still works just fine. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of, again, I color in circular. I'm just going to go right over it, and you can kind of hopefully see the difference. It just blends right in there. You can kind of get it nice and crisp right up to those lines. So this Stays On ink is a permanent ink. So the blender pens, when you move all the watercolor pencils around, it does not bleed. If you were to use regular ink with these watercolored pencils, then the regular ink would bleed with this pen, because you can use regular ink with these to color as well. So I'm just gonna smooth over all those, and there we go. There's a little bit darker keyboard. So how you clean your blender pen is you just take some scrap paper and you just kind of run it, or just I always call it run it until it runs clear. And so that's clear. So there's a little staining, it's still new, and that's okay. So we'll save that for another card. All right, so now we can put the rest of our card together. And you can put your card wherever you want. If you wanted this on this side, your words on this side, it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to kind of copy what I did, but feel free to experiment and see where you want things to be. All right, I think I'm going to go like that. So this red banner I just did flat on my paper here. So just put a little glue. Again, that was about there, and that's going to go about there. And these other two I use dimensional. So I'm going to put my circle on first. And then some people use a lot of dimensionals, some people don't use a lot. I kind of don't use as many. I think 2 will do it. And so I'm going to put that right there. And then I'm going to line this up. Again, this one I did it so that you could see the red on this side, and this one is kind of going to go on the opposite. Oh, actually, unless I slit it. So you can decide where you want it. If you want it over this way with a little red, if you want more red, see the edges like that, which actually I kind of like. This one's going to cover up some of my keys, but that's all right. So what I'm going to do is just put a dimensional on one side, because this is already raised up. So this will kind of match that. And so I'm just going to put a little glue right under this part. Because if I put a dimensional, then it would be like tilted. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to put this down like that. And then that's going to go flat on there. So it's all kind of the same width or depthness, I guess. And then I put some of those little dots on there. So there's a couple ways you can pick up these dots. Some people actually use their scissors. You can kind of pick them up this way, like that. Some people use tweezers. So you could just pick them up like that and place them. And then they also have your take your pick tool, which has this putty on this side. And so that's designed, you push down and slide it off, and then the gem will stay stuck, and then you put it down like that. And you can put these wherever you want. Again, kind of copying what I did, because if I don't, I'm just going to really overthink it and decide where you want it. These sometimes I just screw it back because they get loose. And then also, this has all different other tools to it. I'd say these are the two tools I use the most out of it, the little piercer and the putty picker-upper. All right, so now that's the front of our card is all done, and you can put more gems or whatever you want on it. On the inside, I just did for a little color. I put some red to match the front, and then I have a little white there. I'm going to stamp the white first before I glue it, just in case I make a mistake. And because then there's, although it's a dark color with the black, but there are two sides to this piece of paper, so hopefully I get it right. You can either stamp the music first and the happy birthday, if you wanted to center it. Maybe actually that's what I'll do. I always lose things on my desk. All right. So I'm going to do the happy birthday. Give it a solid press down and straight up. Take that off. And then I have my kind of the music notes. You can also decorate the, if you wanted the envelope, with some music notes on the bottom. Do that, or if you want it on the seal, you can do that. Okay. So that looks okay. So now I'm going to glue it. But if you made a mistake, you just stamp it again and do it that way. And this is a little skinny border. So you have a few seconds to play with that glue to slide it around and make sure you get it where you want it. And put that, and that's a skinny little border like that. This one I did a bigger border. I forget how I cut yours. So it's either this way or this way. There we go. So they're both kind of the same. So it's a fun little Treblemaker. Now, if you didn't want that there, the enjoy the rhythm of each day, that fits in this same shape as well. So you could do that too. Okay, on to the next card.